Hello and welcome to Scarlet Serpent Readings. Thank you so much for joining me for today's timeless pick a card reading where we will be receiving a message from the sea. Yeah, I want to thank all of you who are subscribed, and for those of you stopping by, please consider subscribing and joining a really awesome community. And it's always a pleasure to read for all of you. So we have 3 piles, of course, and I'm going to show you each pile. So we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. I'll just show you again. Pile 1 is red, pile 2 is this person, and pile 3 is the yoga pose. So if you need some more time, you can go ahead and pause the video now. The timestamps will be in the description box below. And I look forward to your reading. Hi pile 1, if you chose this card, this is going to be your reading. This is, of course, one of the messages from the sea. I have a couple more oracle cards, and I'm going to be doing this reading on a message. So this is a message from low tide and high tide, just kind of navigating both opposites of the emotional spectrum. So just kind of that guidance. This first card that you chose, which was red, excuse me, is it says safety, strength, and power. So I feel like that's something that you, I think, already possess in abundance, but really tapping into that. This is really your energy, the energy of confidence and security, and I think that's something you've been working towards for a while. Interestingly enough, another oracle card that we have is water, which is absolutely beautiful considering this reading, as well as the play card. And I usually associate dolphins with play, so I think there's kind of this balance of being secure, stable, serious emperor energy, and kind of balancing that out with having fun and being lighthearted. And I think that's really the main message so far with the oracle cards is make time to play, make time to have fun and enjoy the journey. It says emotional well-being as well, so try not to overlook that aspect of living, of security. You know, part of the benefits of having a strong foundation is not having to worry, so that you could allow yourself to play, because if it's all seriousness, then I don't think you can appreciate what security is as much. So because it's kind of like security allows you to play. So we have a few tarot cards here, and the first one I have, this is from a message from the low tide. So the low tide is showing me the Empress. It's showing the Knight of Pentacles. It's showing the 8 of Pentacles and the High Priestess. Because this is the low tide, I think these are energies that can be a little difficult at times to deal with. We have the Empress and the Knight of Pentacles. All of these cards are facing forward, except the High Priestess. Let's see if I can get these correctly. Hopefully these are all facing forward. Yeah, so there's a forward momentum here. That's what you're trying to go towards, is continuously building something, continuously building yourself, really. It's in the low tide because it's been such a struggle. I think it's been such a long process. We have 3 different cards that are showing Pentacles energy, which can be slow, and I think this is where that safety, security comes in, is that it takes time to build. And that's why the water is saying, the sea is really urging you to take time to have fun and relax and enjoy the little things in life, because you've gone through so much, especially at a personal level, of almost reinventing yourself and studying yourself and becoming stronger in a lot of ways, spiritually and materially. And I think those things are reflecting upon each other. We have the High Priestess at the end, which I think this is what the stability and really the journey has been towards becoming even more intuitive and more psychic. But that's part of the struggle, is that it's been showing a lot of, I guess, a side to you that can be difficult to come to terms with at times. And I think also that it's been interesting, because I think you've drawn people in that reflect the sides of you that you kind of are trying to shed sometimes. So yeah, we have the Emperor and the Empress here, so there's definitely that balance. And I did mention the Emperor in the beginning of the reading with the Oracle cards. So, and then we have the Chariot. So there's a lot of powerful energy, a lot of major arcanas with the low tide. So that's kind of an indication that when things don't feel like they're going that well, or there's like a lot of heavy energy, that's something that is bringing you towards your power. And that's something to keep in mind when you're going through those situations where you just feel like you're putting in so much effort and it isn't really showing yet. There's a lot of, I guess, karma here, ancestral healing that's being done, and there's just so much effort in that. And I think that's why it can kind of feel heavy and almost draining with the low tide, where there's just not enough water reaching the shore. But what it does allow is for, if you're at the beach, you can go further up into the water, so you get to see more of what otherwise is unseeable. And I think that's part of what the low tide is trying to tell you, is that there is it's not always difficult, but it just feels like it's been so long, like it's been so much work on yourself, very personal work. Especially with the Knight of Pentacles, this is a particularly slow card. And with the Eight of Pentacles as well. I think it's the Sun in Virgo. So there is that discipline that's coming through. And I think the spirit of the sea is able to see that. We have the Ace of Wands underneath the Empress. I think you're particularly attractive in more ways than one. Like, you're drawing in. I think that's why I had mentioned people coming towards you. You're drawing in a lot of different types of energies. And part of what you're going through now is deciding on who to let go of, who to accept. And this could be in terms of spirits as well, like spirit guides, spirit team, and so forth, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to deal with everybody. I need to decide what kind of energy I want to be in most of the time, because it's a reflection of who I am. And I think you have a very strong level of self-awareness, and I think that's been most of what your journey has been, like understanding the internal world and how it reflects in the external world, but also seeing what you allow to happen, as opposed to when you're willing to draw the line. I think drawing the line has been something you've struggled with, potentially. Drawing the line, making those boundaries. And there's that yin and yang of Emperor and Empress. The Emperor has a sword here, which is interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of structure here. It's in your energy field. Lots and lots of planning, and with Virgo, and then with the strength, safety, and power that... I'm going to move this stone because it's so loud. But this is your focus. This is your focus. You, and being really comfortable and secure in who you are. And with the High Priestess being clarified by the Chariot, it's knowing when to move. It's, even though there's so much work being put into yourself, and it feels as though a lot of progress hasn't been made. Once all of the kind of unseen factors line up, then the movement is really smooth. And I think your intuition, you're very tapped into it, so it'll guide you naturally to the easiest path. But it's just kind of prepping up for that has taken a while. It's like, if you go on a road trip or something like that, you go on a road trip, there's a lot of planning. Where are you going to stop? Where do you, get food, get gas, the hotel? What's the safe route? Even planning something as far as detours, like you plan for those. And it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of planning, a lot of saving. But in the moment of the journey itself, like, because you've done so much planning, the ride in itself is smooth. Hopefully, it's smooth. You know where you're going. You saved extra money for any kind of unforeseen circumstance and that sort of thing. You saved enough money. You know where to stop, and it's just that's when you get to relax. So you're moving towards that period of relaxation and effortless movement, and that's what the low tide is saying. Is all this work is going towards something, even though you don't see it yet. So let's get a message from the high tide. What does the high tide have to say? So we have 2 4s. That just emphasizes that security that I was mentioning. Lots of emphasis on having a proper structure, because we have the 4 of Pentacles, 4 of Swords, Page of Pentacles. So when you're feeling good, it might be tempting to overspend, I think, and not just overspend, but do things on a whim and be really quick and be like, okay, I feel good now. I just want to feel, I was going to say better, like just kind of riding that wave out. So when that happens, I think because you've done so much work, so much spiritual work, so much, career, it'll depend on you, but there's been so much energy and effort being put into something that when you finally find the opportunity to have fun, sometimes you might almost overdo it, or you might be tempted to overdo it. And that's why I think the play card and emotion well-being was here. It's almost like the water, the sea is telling you not to wait until you're at this emotional high or this emotional low, that to sprinkle in these moments of joy and relaxation when you can, so that you're not doing that at that moment in time. In other words, it's kind of like, well, I was gonna say, like, if you were drinking or you're drunk, it's like if you eat beforehand, you probably won't impulsively go to IHOP at 3 in the morning having a bunch of pancakes. There's this like a balanced way of enjoying yourself, and as you incorporate that into your practice, then you'll be less inclined to really go all out when you're feeling at that emotional high. With the four of Swords here, for me it's about discernment. Page of Pentacles, Page of Swords. Look, we have Pentacles, Swords, Pentacles, Swords. There's this desire to move quickly, and then a desire to be secure. And this is energies that you are navigating within yourself. You could have a partner who's a representation of one of these two things, but a lot of polarized energy. We had the Emperor, Empress, Page of Swords, Page of Pentacles, 4 of Swords, 4 of Pentacles. So there's a lot of yin and yang, and it's interesting that I decided to do the high tide and low tide, because I feel like these might even be 2 aspects of yourself that you're kind of like, let me be practical and let me set the groundwork for and have a plan for what I want to become on a personal level, or planning a trip or something like that. And then there's this other part who's like, I just want to have fun. I don't want to think about it. Let's just start doing first, and then make a plan as we go. and ideally you'll find the balance between both of those sides of you, or if it's another person, kind of meeting them halfway. Alright, let's get some more cards, just clarifying a message from the High Tide. We have the King of Pentacles underneath the Four of Pentacles, so it could be Capricorn energy specifically. Let's get Queen of Pentacles. There's a lot of pentacles, unsurprisingly, but Queen and King, Emperor and Empress, almost, you know, it's a collective reading, but, and look, the Justice card, so it just goes to show about balance. Could have strong Libra placements as well. Eight of Pentacles. So it's been very strong, prominent energies in this reading of, yeah, there's almost these divine counterparts, but really masculine, feminine energies, yin and yang within you. And that's, I think, in your High Tide, that's, you feel really complete. You know, you feel like, okay, all of this work that I'm doing is, I could see the results, or I feel it internally. And that's kind of when, yeah, we have the Eight of Pentacles. We had the Eight of Pentacles earlier. So 2 Eight of Pentacles cards. It feels effortless, this amount of work, because you enjoy it so much. Again, with the Sun in Virgo, it's like, it's very natural for you to put this effort in sometimes. And then sometimes it feels like a drag. And it's the same work that you're doing. It's just, those are the tides. That like, it could be planet placements. It could be external factors. It could just be, you know, very natural ebb and flow. But recognizing it and inserting, like, even if you're really, really enjoying what you're doing, if you're really like on a roll, don't forget to pause and enjoy it. Don't forget to pause and play and make time for yourself, because that's part of the balance, is bringing yourself at a neutral position as often as you can, just to you know, see where you're at. But that's really the overall message, is lots of balance, that the work that you've been putting is going to manifest itself. And then we have the Air Dragon, which helps you rise above earthly matters, communicate honestly, brings inspiration, hope, see life from a higher perspective. I think the air energy in particular is one that kind of helps you move really quickly, but also can be a little uncomfortable for you. Not to say that, like, your Libra placement isn't balanced or anything like that. It's just like, it makes it uncomfortable because there's that part of you that really wants to see the results, really wants to be in the next step of your journey, and the Pentacles within you is saying you're not quite ready yet. All of the pieces aren't set, and that's that part of you, the Queen, King of Pentacles, that is saying, let's just make sure everything's in its place. Like the glue is drying, that the paint, you know, if you're doing watercolor, like a portrait, and the paint isn't dry, but you try and put the next layer of paint, it's just gonna be unfocused and muddy almost. So the time is worth it. The time is worth it, and your results are going to be beautifully balanced and really everything that you wanted. It really is worth that amount of time. So hopefully these messages were helpful. Please like, subscribe, share if you enjoyed them, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi Pile 2, if you chose this card, this is going to be your reading. This is a message from the sea, and again, I want to thank you all for stopping by, and especially for those of you who are subscribed. I really appreciate it. So I have 2 oracle cards here, and I'm just going to start with those, I guess. We have the authentic self, which says, who are you? And it really seems as though that's blossoming. That's, of course, the center of the reading, as well as freedom with the number 19. And these definitely go hand in hand. It's like Being who you are is freedom. That is your way of spreading your wings and feeling light. I think you want to feel light. You want to be able to be who you want to be at any given moment without having to worry about the opinions of others. And I think we have a few cards from the low tide of the sea. So really a message from kind of a more difficult place within the ocean anyway, and it has its own wisdom as well as the high tide. So we're just going to see how these messages can help you right now in whatever situation you're in and whatever your intention is of the reading. We have the Ace of Cups from the low tide. We have the Ace of Cups and then the Knight of Cups in reverse, which is interesting because I don't really do these reversals. I think because this is the low tide, you sometimes have difficulty in moving towards things that really open your heart. We have the Nine of Pentacles as well. I think part of this is because you just don't feel very secure within yourself, at least not totally. I think maybe you feel like you don't have the money to be able to pursue hobbies that might be expensive. We also have the Knight of Swords, which is in reverse as well. This could be either yourself or an external influence that is telling you that you can't go for this, and maybe it's that voice that's telling you you don't have the money for it. So it's kind of this lack of comfort in being able to pursue what you want is letting you know that you aren't as free as you want to be, and that's actually a positive thing, that it's that awareness of it. We have the Nine of Swords. Oh Lord. Wands. Is that deck? I don't know. Yeah, Nine of Wands with the Moon and Sagittarius. And I was talking about freedom. This is definitely a card that doesn't feel free. And that's with this Ace of Cups. So keeping your eyes on the prize, that is this passion, this thing that makes you feel like you can be you. And what's stopping you is the Knight of Cups. What's stopping you is not feeling comfortable in moving towards it. There's something that's blocking you in this. And we have the Fool underneath the Knight of Cups. I think maybe you're afraid of making this leap, of receiving the ideas. I think you have the ideas come to you fairly quickly, you know? And I think these ideas are coming from your inner child. And I think that's what the low tide of the sea is telling you, is to, like, it just came in, it's like, you can't really jump from the sea, from under the water, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just kind of swim around, so there's really nothing to worry about in terms of falling if you're underwater. I hope that makes sense. And I think that's a nice way to go about being who you are, is that, like, if you, the universe really is you, and so there's nothing to be afraid of in that way. I think a lot of this has to do with other people just projecting their insecurity onto you, because naturally you're very free, you're very childlike. And this, I think this reading has a lot to do with allowing your inner child to come through. We have the Moon in reverse underneath the Nine of Pentacles. I feel as though this pile might not always realize how insecure you might feel, how unstable you might feel. Because if you were, then you would allow this inner child to come out always. Regardless if people are, you know, talking down to you or making you feel small or incapable or foolish for pursuing something that really most people wouldn't dare to pursue, because it's just not secure, it's not stable, it's not looked up upon. And I don't think you realize the full extent of that influence. And I think that's something that the water, the sea, is trying to remind you of, is that Whenever you start hesitating in your movement, in your drive to do something that makes you feel good, that's when you're at the low tide, and that's kind of what's allowing you to realize, oh, there's still some internal work to do. There's still some inner child work to do so that I could feel free and swim wherever I want, because restriction isn't very natural for you. And then we have the King of Cups underneath the Knight of Swords. In reverse, by the way. This could be a person. I'm just gonna get one more card for this King of Cups. I mean, we do have the moon showing up a few times, so you could be very connected to the lunar cycles and to the water. We have the Queen of Cups. This is really interesting, isn't it? If you had seen a previous reading, you'll notice something. But like they're facing the other way from each other. I think this might be another person. That there's this dissonance between where you both should go if you are in a relationship that's of any kind, like a friendship. Otherwise, it would be these two aspects of you who is connected to the emotional body, right? Like there's already the Ace of Cups, there's the moon, there's a lot of this, this subconscious energy, this intuitive energy, but they might be going in different directions, or they might be trying to find a way to balance each other out. In terms of maybe the King of Cups is thinking on a more macro level, and the Queen of Cups is more micro, and you're trying to merge those two together so that you could feel really confident in all aspects of who you are. Confidence is big, though. I think for this pile, confidence is really big. Okay, so let's get a message from the high tide now. We have the Nine of Wands again. We have the Nine of Wands in the same position as the Nine of Wands. So I think that's something that's coming through regardless of the high tide or low tide. Like when you're feeling really good, there's the Nine of Wands energy. When you're feeling low and down, it's the Nine of Wands energy. So just to be aware of the energy that you're exerting and where it's going. And we have the Ten of Wands as well. You know, for some of you, it might be that you're focusing a little too much on what feels good and not enough on like making that good feeling into a physical reality in a way. You know, maybe this pile would be one that likes to daydream and can get lost in a daydream and almost comfortable in daydreaming as opposed to making that a physical reality. Of course not for all of you. Then we have the Five of Swords here with Venus in Aquarius. So we have the Owl as well. I think some of you might not be that comfortable around people because you find them draining. We have the Page of Swords as well. And I think this pile has something about feeling comfortable interacting with the right crowd. Let's get clarification here, though. It's like the whole deck was on the floor. And I didn't even get a card yet. So, one sec. Oh, I did get one. We have the Eight of Wands here. under the Nine of Wands. So it's like there's this suppressed fire and water, and I don't think you realize the full extent. And we have the King of Wands in reverse. Yeah. So it's like you've almost gotten used to not showing all parts of yourself. And we have the Page of Wands. And this could have been something that happened at childhood where like you had an idea and it was shut down really quickly, that you had this desire and it was shut down. I think you've been shut down a lot by a lot of people who have a very narrow way of seeing the world and navigating the world, and that's had an effect on you. And I think maybe you've put walls up and you've been extra cautious, even though in your heart you are like Two of Cups in reverse. So, yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just being cautious with who you share your energy with, because I think there's just been a lot of judgment from other people. Even though you have a lot to share, It's interesting that this would come from the high tide, though, that there's so much, I think you realize just how much you're holding yourself back. And I think you might be someone who makes room. You make room for yourself in solitude and being able to express yourself. So I think like you're someone who would, let's just say, for example, alone in your apartment, you would do something that you normally wouldn't do in public, that's like dancing, let's say, or you'd paint or draw or write, but you wouldn't show anyone. And I think there's this nudging to, yeah, you're very conservative. We do have the Four of Pentacles here, very conservative, despite your efforts in going through that. So it's kind of like in your high tide, and the water is bringing that into your awareness now, where recognizing your stillness so that you could know what it's like to be free. I think you've been comfortable for a while in hiding yourself, and this is what the water's trying to say is it's just it takes baby steps. I think you've already taken a lot of these steps in terms of trying to connect with people, but the more of yourself that you share with others, I think the more you'll recognize that, well, two things: that you have the ability to attract an audience that would actually support you and love you for who you are, and then secondly, as you show more and more of yourself, the world and these people around you will really just kind of give you momentum to continue doing that, to continue showing more of who you are at a deep level. Even the silly parts, where I don't know, they'll just compliment you. They'll be like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. It's incredible. And that momentum will continue to add up and move you towards, compatible partners and like-minded friends and coworkers, because that's something that you really want, We have one card. The Silver Lunar Dragon bathes you in divine feminine light. Come into balance and practice peace, harmony, and cooperation. Expand your causal chakra. So cooperation came in, with the Two of Cups in reverse. That's really, there's a healing that's being done at this time with that. I did mention the moon. I did mention that you probably have a connection to the moon, a very strong one at that. And this is really confirmation of that, confirmation of that lunar being aware of the cycles within yourself and being aware of that divine feminine energy within you. And you probably work very well with kind of like moon magic or just lunar meditations or something like that. And we notice that this is a full moon, so I think this journey that you're in now and what the water is helping you do is show all of you to the world. And I think you'll realize that the world actually needs all of you to be shown. So hopefully this reading was helpful. Please let me know. Please comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, Pile 3. If you chose this card, this is going to be your reading, A Message from the Sea. And this oracle, we'll start with this. It's the, I was going to say the number orange. The color orange with connection and attunement. You could be a yoga practitioner, or it might benefit you to do yoga, but this is really a lot of being in your own flow and your own energy. And I think that's the first message coming through to you from the ocean, from the sea. Really, water energy is flow, is the flow of your own energy and connecting to yourself. We have the self-interest card as well. So you might be in a kind of cutthroat environment where self-interest could be at play with either family, friends, or in a work environment. We also have an influence here. So there's this potentially this energy around you of manipulation, and I think that's why the connection and attunement card is so important here, because it's like centering and grounding yourself. So the first part of the reading, we have a message from the low tide, and that's kind of messages from the part of the ocean that's kind of like, yeah, at an emotional, energetic low. And then we'll get a message from when the high tide is there, so kind of like connecting to your high moments, to your when you're feeling filled with energy, and kind of seeing I guess an additional perspective on a current situation for you from both of those energies. So we have the Page of Cups for your low tide, as well as the Two of Swords. So in a similar way to a previous pile, you know where you want to go, you know what drives you, but there might be a little hesitation as to how to get there. We also have the Four of Wands and the Seven of Wands. There might be more like a family influence, like where you have to defend yourself in being and pursuing what you want, going with your own flow. So I think there might be like two different currents happening, and I think in this case, self-interest would be for you. It's like just take what you need and leave from kind of like this family environment. Yeah, because it seems as though one of the people might be under the influence of something else. Could be potentially addiction on their behalf, but more so than that, it's like addicted to a certain way of being, a certain way of living, and they want you to fall in line with that. And I think maybe some of you might find this sense of security to be false. Like, it's comfortable, but it's not lighting your fire. It feels a little stagnant for you. So then the next card we have is the Knight of Cups, and that's clarified by the Nine of Swords, which is Gemini energy. So there is a hesitation. I think that's come up in the previous card, right? With the Page of Cups here and the Two of Swords. And then we also have the Knight of Cups with the Nine of Swords. So it's kind of like both of those energies are amplifying. As you try to move, there's a resistance, an internal resistance of the mind that keeps you from feeling confident in moving forward. And I do kind of feel as though that has to do with family, that if you pursue what you want, if mostly like it could be a school, you know, going back to school or going back to work, that it could almost be seen as selfish, and that might be a message that you're receiving from like family or friends, like, hey, you need to hang out with us because otherwise you're being selfish, and that's not cool, or something. I don't know, it's a very toned down way of putting that, but you also have the Empress and the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is upright, so there's this part of you that's like, oh, if that's what you feel, I could just be completely content by myself. And that's where you'll be able to move freely. And I think with the Knight of Swords, taking ownership of your own mental energy. So that might have been like a struggle from the low tide. The low tide is revealing a conflict between where your heart wants to go and what your mind is contemplating. And I think the mind is taking into account other people's happiness a little too much. I mean, usually every pile has like a similar theme, but yeah, I mean, and I had said this a few times, it's okay to be selfish sometimes, especially when something makes your heart sing, and especially if you want to share what that is with the world. We also have in the bottom of the deck, which I don't usually do, the Nine of Cups, which goes to show kind of that energy of kind of, it's like this octopus is doing what do you call it? Cheers like for themselves, you know, they are all the friends that they need, that personal satisfaction. And that kind of reminds me of this Empress energy too, of being completely comfortable in their own skin and being okay with being alone for now, as they go on to pursue this Page of Cups energy, this idea that brings love. Really, it's all about being in that energy of love and going towards it quickly. There's a quickness to this, and that might be something that you have felt like you've put, you know, energy in having to defend that, and maybe you've even kept this a secret from other people just to prevent those opinions. It's not that you can't handle them, it's just like, it's just background noise that gets burdensome after a while, and you've had to deal with it for a while, as I said. So let's look at the high tide. What does the high tide of the sea have to say about this situation? Message from the high tide, please. The 10 of Wands again. The Knight of Swords. It's funny, every reading has had a few repeats, and this is one of them with the Knight of Swords. This was clarifying the Empress, and then underneath the 4 of Wands and the 7 of Wands, we have the Knight of Swords. This Knight of Swords looks really aggressive. Moving extremely quickly. Let's get a few more cards. We do have the King of Cups underneath the page, or the Knight of Cups. So there's a very natural evolution that I'm finding with you. With the Page of Cups, Knight of Cups, now the King of Cups. Feeling more, not just confident, but there's this sense of understanding how important it is to tune into your emotional body in any given situation, because it's like a little radar as to where to go, you know, in terms of finding happiness. Not just finding happiness, but being in happiness as often as you can, because that happiness radiates, and it attracts more happiness and money and friends and people who are aligned with that. And it's been subtle for a while, but as you continue to focus on it and focus also on the things and the people that might bring resistance, I think that's actually a positive thing, right? With the 10 of Wands being here, it's like, and I had mentioned that exerting a lot of energy towards the seven of Wands, that it does feel like family. It does feel like people who are close to you, but they also have a certain expectation as to where you should be focusing your time and energy. And there's this growing, with all of the cups, the page, the knight, the queen. Was it queen? King of Cups. This little spark within you is expanding, and it's becoming more important to you, and you're beginning to realize. I just saw the 5 of Pentacles, so that kind of stuck out to me. And it's come out in all of the readings, I think, with the Empress. King of Cups is being comfortable with who you are. This is, I guess the sea has that to say about most of the collective, is to feel comfortable with you. Being comfortable not only in the present moment, but in your place within the ocean. Is that, the ocean is enormous, it's vast, but it's ultimately a home for a lot of different beings, and it doesn't make sense to try and be another type of fish when you're one type. It's not like you could change the sea, certain creatures adapt a certain way, but that's who they are. Like, there's octopus, there's jellyfish, there's big fish, small fish. They all have their own way of moving through the ocean. And when you focus more on the way you move, then that's when you'll find comfort in who you are. A certain way of moving. So what if it's slow? So what if it's slow? That you move with wisdom and you move with purpose. And if it's fast, then that's the way. Maybe there's a certain way of seeing and being that feels natural. But once you start trying to move in a way that other people do, it's not really. You're just not being who you are. And I think that's just something that's been increasingly apparent. We have the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands. I think these could be external influences that you're more aware of. I think possibly mother figures, or like an aunt or something like that. An almost overbearing feminine energy. Especially this cat. She's up to no good. This cat is not. She's up to no good. I don't know what's going on there, but I do not trust that cat. Normally, Queen of Wands isn't like that, but at the same time, we do have the orange. That just goes to show, right? It doesn't matter. Like, the cat wouldn't care if I trust it or not. It's still gonna be a cat. It's still gonna do whatever it wants to do. And I think maybe that's like an energy you might give off to others, and you're trying to mold yourself to make other people feel comfortable, and that's not your problem, because it's again, the cost to that is your own exhaustion. It's just like a misalignment of energy. We have the 3 of Pentacles underneath the King of Cups. I think this feels like you will find your tribe, but only when you have gotten to this point. This is going from the Page to the Knight to the King. And then I think once you're at that point, like you'll have a good idea as to what your purpose is if you don't already know. But like, to see something be built from the heart center, not just from your heart center, but finding people who have the same dream and vision of something that they want to accomplish, and all coming together and putting the resources together is just like, wow, we all have something to contribute, and we all can make an even better version of a vision that we had been dreaming of as a unit. And that's really cool to see. Then we have the Nine of Pentacles, and what a journey that is from the Five of Pentacles to go from here to here. So what the high tide is saying is that even if it feels as though you're losing friends, or even if you don't have money, it is a temporary thing, that in the passage of time is just a brief moment on the way towards what you want. And I think the sea is asking you if it's worth pursuing, you know, that flame that you have within you. Is it worth it to you? And I think you'll find the more you tune into the water that's within you, you tune into your own ocean, that it's everything, isn't it? Let's get a final message from the Dragon Realm. Too many cards. Sorry. Nope. Kind of. I just smelled fire. That was weird. Yeah, it's gone. Okay. I don't know what that was. I guess that's... You have a lot of fire energy. Probably like Sagittarius or something. Let's just get one final message from the sea. Sorry, it's taking long. There we go. Orange Gold Dragon from Arcturus opens you to knowledge of the Golden Age. Carry the energy of the future and be a guiding light. And I think that orange is kind of why you were drawn to the pile with the yoga pose and the fire, is that you're a leader. And yeah, we have Source Dragon. This is very powerful energy. It attunes you to the infinite. Be still. In the silence, magic can happen. Be in the moment. Be in the moment. I had mentioned that. Look at how similar the tails are for both of these dragons. Infinity. You're tapping into infinity. That's what you're stepping into. And it's quite a reservoir of potential that you have. You have a lot of potential, and part of this journey that you've been on has been tapping into it and feeling confident enough to know that what you dream can become a physical reality. And it's all about having a lot of faith in the universe and in who you are, and seeing each and every moment as an opportunity to kind of fine-tune your reality, to really live the best life. So hopefully this reading was helpful. Please like, subscribe, share. Let me know how this reading resonates with you, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care.